So we have a movie called Sinners opening up on Easter weekend. That's the only joke I'm going to make in this review. But long story short, go see this movie. So Sinners was written and directed by Ryan Coogler, and it stars Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, Jack O'Connell, Delroy Lindo, among many others. In this movie, these two brothers named Smoke and Stack, who are both played by Michael B. Jordan, return to their hometown of Mississippi to open up a club. However, they realize that there's a greater evil waiting for them, and we have a movie. So this is a movie I was looking forward to. Ryan Coogler, in my opinion, has not made a bad movie. He made Creed, both Black Panther movies, Fruitvale Station, all really well done movies. And I was very curious to see what he would do with a movie like this. Not only because it's an original property, or based on his own imagination, but it's also not in. It's also a horror movie, so it's like he hasn't done horror before, and I also kind of worry if this movie does really well that he's going to get stuck in horror movies, and I don't want that for him. I do, and also the trailers themselves. The first one I really liked. The second one I was a bit worried because I felt like they showed a little bit too much in that second trailer. So I'm like, oh god, don't tell me you spoiled all the best moments in the trailer. And here I am to say this movie is definitely worth watching. This movie is definitely a very good time. It's one of those movies I can see like a lot of people really enjoying, both critics and audiences kind of enjoying. Like I definitely got like a lot of the themes that Ryan Coogler was trying to go for, but at the same time, this movie has a lot of fun going for it, especially in the second half. Let's just dive into this movie because this movie, honestly, it may be my favorite movie of the year so far. First off, the acting. The acting is incredible for the most. The acting is incredible all across the board. Everyone in this movie delivers. Michael B. Jordan as these two characters. There he's really good in both roles. I could definitely tell at times, like who's who, like which one's Smoke, which one's Stack. I felt like his characters were very interesting. Haley Steinfeld also really good. Jack O'Connell pretty menacing as the villain. Delroy Lindo is also really good. It's still a disgrace that he was not nominated for Defy Bloods, but I thought he was really good in this movie. Miles Canton, he's a newcomer in this movie. I thought he was really good. The movie's kind of surrounding his character, surprisingly. Omar Benson Miller, who plays a side character. I won't spoil what happens with him and such, but I thought he was pretty good in this movie as well. The cinematography done by Autumn Durold Arkanpaw. I apologize if I mispronounced your name, but her cinematography is incredible. She does a lot of oneers in this movie, which I think were really well done. One in this town that was really cool. One that's in this nightclub that shows the music history and such, which I'll kind of talk about my negatives for a little bit because that's kind of more of a nitpick. But her cinematography is absolutely gorgeous. The music done by frequent collaborator of Ryan Coogler's Ludwig Göransson, also incredible. It kind of has like this bluesy feel to it for the first for the first half of the movie. There's a bluesy feel to the music and such. But as the movie keeps going, the music itself kind of like goes ahead in time. Like there's a lot of like electric guitars in the mix, and it's actually subtly done, and I think that's very impressive as well. Also, the blending of genres is also very fascinating as well. It's a western, it's a drama, it's a horror movie. I think all that blends very well. There's a lot of horror that's kind of like, well, maybe not horror, more like thriller, because like at least for the first half, it's kind of like seeping through. It's kind of like underneath it. It's like kind of like definitely uncomfortable at times, and it's just definitely pretty creepy. I do think that that blends itself very well. Also, I do think that a lot of you kind of saw in the trailers that it is about vampires and such. The vampire stuff is surprisingly done very well. It's subtly done. Like there are moments where I look back at the scenes and I'm like, okay, how did I not catch that before? That is actually really cool. And then when I see this movie again, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I get it now. I get what's going on here. And the movie does admittedly cut away a lot from some stuff that happens in this movie, but I think that actually works to its advantage more than hurts it. Normally, I complain about it when movies are like, oh, it cuts away from like a lot of the really graphic stuff, and I'm like, actually, here I think it works more than it hurts. Also, I do think that the themes overall are interwoven, and I do think that this is a movie where I kind of thought of this while watching it. It's like if you're watching this movie in like a history class, I feel like that would be a very good movie to watch for anything like this because I feel like a lot of the stuff that's talked about in this movie are surprisingly very well handled, and I do think that it kind of like shows that Ryan Coogler knows history. He knows that history kind of repeats itself in a way, and I do think it's all subtly done. I think it's actually very well done. And even though this movie is very serious and there's a lot of stuff that this movie talks about, this movie, without a doubt, is still incredibly fun. It can be even funny too. Like, especially in the second half when the movie kind of gets into a lot of the vampire stuff, that's when the movie gets really fun. Some people may complain, oh, the first half of the movie is kind of boring. Well, it's like, No, not really, because you're still learning about these characters, and these characters are still fascinating to look into. Like, again, you learn about Michael B. Jordan and what his characters are going through. Um, and again, I do think there are some very funny moments in this movie, particularly in that first half. There are a couple lines where I'm like, that was really good, and it just kind of made me laugh out loud. It's not really the smartest thing to say, but I still had a good time with it. But even though I still like this movie, still really enjoyed it, and still think that this movie's an absolute blast, let's talk about a couple things I didn't care for, which are admittedly a couple nitpicks. First off, I did not think the movie was that scary, if I'm being honest. There were a couple scares towards the beginning of the movie that were more just jump scares, and I thought they were just a little unnecessary, but maybe it's going to be like one of those things where it's like, if I go back and watch this a second time, I'm going to watch those scenes again. I was like, maybe there's something there that I kind of didn't notice when I was watching it for the first time, so maybe I'll just let that slide. Also, there's that one scene I was talking about that kind of shows like the history of music over the years, and it kind of goes into the future. The movie takes place in 1930s Mississippi, and it kind of goes into stuff that you would see in the 2020s. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird at first, but I kind of got what Ryan Coogler and also the cinematographer Autumn Durald Arkampa. Again, I apologize if I mispronounced your name, but it kind of felt clunky at first. But then I realized, okay, I understand what you're going for with this scene. It's actually very well done. And also the mid-credits scene. This movie does have a mid-credits scene, but I felt like it went on way too long. Normally, I feel like mid-credits scenes should be like, a minute at most, maybe. This plays like 5 minutes, and I'm like, why have this as a mid-credits scene if it's 5 minutes long? Why not just make this like an epilogue? Like, it would still be effective. I think it would be even more effective if you put it at the very end of the movie before the credits. I I don't know. I feel like I would have been a little bit better, but it's still an interesting movie that's gonna, you're both gonna have a lot of fun, but you're also gonna think a lot while watching it, and I think that's very good. So I do think Sinners is actually a very interesting movie overall. The acting incredible all across the board. Cinematography is absolutely gorgeous. The music is great. The blending of genres is great. The vampire stuff is interesting. The themes are very interesting. Kind of will make you think for a while after the movie. And also, it can be a very serious movie, but without a doubt, it's still fun. It's still funny. It's still a blast to watch. And even though there are mostly just nitpicks I have, some of the scares are kind of lackluster. That one scene was a bit clunky at first and kind of strange, but you kind of get used to it. And then again, the mid-credit scene I feel like was a bit too much and could have easily just been in the actual movie instead of just being in the middle of the credits. This is a movie that is definitely worth watching. It is a blast to watch. It is fun from beginning to end. It is honestly my favorite movie of 2025 so far. I will give Sinners 3.5 out of 4 stars. See it. So, what is your favorite Ryan Coogler movie? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and stay safe.